Profile: Alhaji Sidiku Buari, sportsman, musician, entrepreneur, former president of the Musicians Union of Ghana, Musiga, chairman of the Copyright Society of Ghana, COSGA, and vice president of the International Federation of Musicians. Alhaji Sidiku Buari began his climb up the educational ladder at Arms School, Accra from 1949 to 1954, continuing at Government Boys School, Row Road from 1955 through 1956 and African College 1957 to 1961. In school, he showed promise as a sprint athlete, with the 400-meter race as his favorite. In 1962, the young Sidiku Buari came to the attention of Ohene, Ghana's legendary first director of sports, who immediately handed him over to the then national coach E.C. Nyako. Sidiku Buari lived up to the billing. In February 1963, Sidiku Buari became the national 400 meters Ghana athletics champion. 2 months later, in April 1963, Sidiku Buari represented Ghana in the 400-meter race in the All-African Games held in Dakar, Senegal, where he won silver medal for Ghana. In the same year, Sidiku Buari won his personal ultimate diadem, a gold in the 4x400 meters relay and a silver in the 400 meters at the West Africa Games held in Ibadan, Nigeria. In the whole of Africa, Ghana emerged one of the continent's best three runners in the 4x400 meters race when, in 1965, Alhaji Sidiku Buari was among the quartet who won the bronze medal for Ghana during the All-Africa Games in Congo-Brazzaville. To add value to himself, Alhaji Sidiku Buari moved further up the educational ladder. Sidiku Buari left for the United States of America in 1966, where his skill as an athlete won him a scholarship to the York Institute and later Bronx Community College for a degree in business administration. Taking advantage of night classes at the New York School of Music, Sidiku Buari studied for a certificate in business of music and then the LaSalle University in Chicago, where he studied for a diploma in interior decorating. In the US, Alhaji Sidiku Buari discovered another life of his life, music. His talent for singing and songwriting was recognized by the Radio Corporation of America, RCA, in New York, which in 1975 signed him on as a recording contract that yielded his first album, titled Buari.
We signed Sidiku to a 5-year contract. Sid by that time had written numerous songs. The first company that we approached, which was RCA, Radio Corporation of America, there was a young executive there, and he sat and he listened to the demo, and he shook his head and he tapped his feet, and he said, "Let's sign this artist. This is the future of what music is going to be heard." And of course, it was raw native music coming out of Africa, of which no one else was doing in the world.
Sports was in Sidiku's blood. In the United States, he won fame as a baseball player.
Sidiku was a non-professional baseball player at the time, and he also had many other hobbies, but his biggest talent was writing lyrics and coming up with beautiful songs and putting it all together.
His very first album became a hit, rising to number 39 on the charts.
We recorded about 5 albums, and each one of them was a huge success. And we have Sidiku Buari to thank for putting African music on the map.
Out of this emerged the single Karambani, that became an instant hit, rising to number 59 in the charts. Sidiku Buari had put on the American market 5 successful albums. The Great March to the Castle, the seat of government, is the defining act of the 80s that pushed affairs of musicians to the forefront of government relations with the creative sector. Alhaji Sidiku Buari had to cut short his vacation to the United States of America and fly down to be at the forefront of this landmark event in the annals of the struggle by Ghanaian artists. Alhaji Sidiku Buari's honors roll cannot be complete without going back to what he himself classified as the roaring days of his musical career in the United States of America. Home sweet home, so goes the saying. For Sidiku Buari, there was no place like home. Like a prophet seeking confirmation of his gifts at home, he returned to Ghana in 1980 with the aim of placing his creative acquirements at the disposal of his compatriots, especially those in the creative arts circles. In an era when Ghanaian musicians who yearned for quality recording had to travel to Germany, Holland, UK or USA to realize their dream, Sidiku Buari established the SID Studio and the Filmworks at Jowolu, which became synonymous with high-quality digital sound recording and film editing. Musical and film works produced here found outlets through his wholesale shop attached to the studio at Jolu and a retail shop in Accra Central opposite main bus stop. For quality musical and video tapes, the place to go was a CD Top shop. Ghanaian musicians aged to compete on the global front. For this, we realized they yearned for quality sound, and Sidiku Buari, very much acquainted with the richness of American quality, gave them their heart's desire. This led to Sid Studios signing the best sound engineer of that era, Akwesi Yobo, in 1985. Sid Studio became the mecca for all Ghanaian musicians. Sidiku Buari's university degree and knowledge in business of music was further put to use in Ghana when he established Funky Town Disco, essentially to promote music and entertainment in 1982. In addition to being an outlet for the promotion of African music, the discotheque served as a place of fun and relaxation. The joint pioneered a genre in disco dance by introducing a roller skating competition in Ghana. It was from here that the dance legend Ajete Soa rose to fame and eventually won the World Disco Championship crown in Great Britain. Video production in Ghana. When Sidiku Buari turned his attention to video film business in Ghana, he added a missing link: the commercial exploitation of the craft. True, there were a few productions at the time, including Video Cities Abyssinia, featuring the popular Osofo Dazi group, and Worldwide Motion Pictures Zinabu, but they were facing distribution exhibition challenges and were therefore limited to screening at a few small video centers of not much significance. Alhaji's first video production, Ayalolo, put an end to that challenge. It became the very first Ghanaian video feature to go truly commercial nationwide. The film premiered and sold to crowds of film-hungry fans at popular film outlets, including Captain Cinemas Company and Ghana Films throughout Ghana, becoming the first box office success for any Ghanaian video feature. This was a takeoff for the industry. One man turned the key: Alhaji Sidiku Buari. Seeing the success of his own video production, Sidiku Buari built his own mini cinema house, what became known as Sid Theatre, arguably the most popular of its kind anywhere. The success of Ayalolo spurred Sidiku Buari on into more productions. By the time he was done writing and producing, Sidiku Buari had 12 hit box office successes under his belt, the most commercially successful being Ogbo Parts 1 and 2, Jealousy, Meba, Man Woman, Three Parties, Mr. TT, and Who Is to Blame. His creativity and experience in video production brought him to the attention of German television giants Deutsche Welle, who sponsored him, and the director of the National Film and Television Institute, NAFTI, Bill Marshall, on a tour of some African countries to share their experience. That tour was to be the takeoff point for video productions in many of those countries. Alhaji Sidiku Buari has the philanthropist's heart, moved by compassion for the handicapped in particular and the marginalized in general. He released a musical album with its video clip in 1986 to raise funds for handicapped persons in Ghana. Within 3 weeks, Alhaji Sidiku Buari successfully raised 250,000 cedis for the cause. It was the very first time that an individual musician was engaging in such a solo fundraising venture, and for this, the Entertainment Critics and Review Association of Ghana, ECRAG, created a special category for him, in recognition of what the citation described as his ability to mobilize resources towards the relief of handicapped persons in the Ghanaian society. In 1990, Alhaji Sidiku Buari won another ECRAG award. This time, it was in recognition of the totality of his artistic effort, the most consistent artist of the year. During the memorable Obatampa concert at the National Theatre, organized to appreciate government's gesture of donating office accommodation to the Ghanaian musician, Alhaji Sidiku Buari, then the Vice President of the Musicians Union of Ghana, extended a hand of thanksgiving to the then President of Ghana, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings. In 1999, Sidiku Buari was elected president of the Musicians Union of Ghana. In 1999, musicians in Ghana translated their admiration for Alhaji Sidiku Buari into votes at the Musical Congress held in Kumasi that year, voting him into office as president of the Musicians Union of Ghana. Their confidence was not misplaced. They had seen Alhaji Buari at work as vice president of Musica under the presidency of the late Mr. Joe Mensah. Like all other endeavors on which he places his hand, he gave his all to the cause of the Ghanaian musicians. His most enduring legacy for all time for musicians is the office complex for the union. 2 years later, Alhaji Sidiku Buari was voted as Musica president, and the story changed. What happened next was a stroke of genius. The new president, Alhaji Sidiku Buari, mobilized willing musicians to put their all-time favorite together in one album. The result was a hit produced by Osei Kwame of Despite Records. To the amount raised through this effort, Alhaji Sidiku Buari added his own financial resources. This is the story of the now famous musical office complex, fully furnished with dedicated offices for the president, secretary, treasurer, and welfare officers. There was a space for performances and a restaurant. Thus endowed, Musica refused to be selfish. Though the building belongs exclusively to musicians, the Alhaji Sidiku Buari-led administration called in their fellow artists, such as the Ghana Actors Guild, who have been allocated office space. The musical building was commissioned by the then Vice President of Ghana, His Excellency John Evans Atta Mills. The business of music, in which Buari had a degree, took center stage. With the help of lawyer Farouk Seidu, Musica updated its constitution with particular attention to the rights and interests of union members, addressing issues such as minimum wage for musicians performing in public places. Realizing that business of music could thrive only in an atmosphere of peace, the Buari-led Musica decided to invest in the peace efforts of the land. During the presidential and the parliamentary election in 2000 and 2004, when all of Ghana was sitting on tenterhooks with everybody's hearts in their mouths, Alhaji Sidiku Buari mobilized the union members to tour all regional capitals to preach peace through live performances. The songs were later recorded, and the resultant album, titled Ghana, the Land of Peace, was released. Also, in the midst of what became known in Ghana as serial murder of women, in the year 2000, Alhaji Sidiku Buari mobilized musicians to release a song to campaign against the atrocity. The album, Our Dear Women, featured some of Ghana's most popular gospel musicians. Sidiku then turned attention to the plight of children. An album titled Children, the Future Leaders, produced by the Musicians Union of Ghana, was launched in Accra 2001 by the President of Ghana, Mr. John Agyekum Kufuor. The album sold 45 million CDs on the first day of release, out of a target of $5 million in aid of poor children, and as part of a worldwide campaign to help less fortunate children. In the same year, 2001, the Musicians Union of Ghana, in a collaborative effort with the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation (GBC), raised 85 million CDs for the Stadium Disaster Fund. One man was the driving force behind it all: Alhaji Sidiku Buari. Alhaji Sidiku Buari's next move was to get the Musicians Union of Ghana affiliated to the International Federation of Musicians. The benefits of that move were capacity building programs for union members, including series of seminars. For his role in advancing the cause of the industry in Ghana and the entire Africa, Alhaji Sidiku Buari was elected chairman of the African Committee of the International Federation of Musicians in 2002. To crown Alhaji Sidiku Buari's efforts, achievement, and dedication to African musicians, Sidiku Buari was voted massively as the Vice President of the International Federation of the Musicians (FIM) in the Congress held in Great Britain in the year 2004. It was also at this Congress that Alhaji Sidiku Buari, as a Vice President of the International Federation of Musicians, made perhaps his most indelible contribution for Africa. When the time came to choose a venue for the next Congress, Alhaji Sidiku Buari got to his feet and made a passionate appeal to the world body. He reminded the Congress that in its 30-year history, it had never met on the African soil. He ended with a proposal: either Ghana or South Africa.
For the first time in Africa, the African musician would be very grateful if you could bring the Congress to Ghana or South Africa, where we can assure you of hospitality and good weather. Thank you.
This was upheld, and the records bear testimony that for the first time, the World Congress of the International Federation of Musicians, the highest decision-making organ, was held in Joburg, South Africa in 2008.
It was a very great opportunity, and FIM was very, very helpful in trying to put African musicians together. When we look at the African countries in terms of music, you realize that African countries have so much to offer. And I felt it was a big opportunity if you join FIM, because you get opportunity to get sponsorship, to be able to do what you want to do for Africa. I try to make sure that all the African countries who have problems, we try to find a way, and not only African countries, that we try to solve their problems, but developing countries who actually need help. We've been traveling all around to make sure that we straighten the situation of musicians, and that has been very, very helpful. And not only talking about music, we also talk about copyright. And then piracy was also a major problem that we are facing, not only in Africa, but the whole world. But we try to solve most of this problem. I wish film very well, and I also want them to take into consideration the African countries, because we are a developing country and we need help. And I hope and pray the new vice president will try and work very hard to make sure that the African countries also benefit from the fruits of their labor.
Benoît Machuel, I'm General Secretary of the International Federation of Musicians. I'm a French national. I'm head of the film office in Paris, France. First, I want to remind my first meeting with Alhaji, our former vice president. I remember it quite well. It was in South Africa, here, not here, it was in Cape Town, in 2003. And I remember quite well meeting with Alhaji and immediately understanding his position on the continent and the respect that all other unions on the continent had for him. Since then, he had become vice president of FIM in 2004 in London. And I think we could not imagine a better advocate for the cause of Africans. He has such a good knowledge of the problems of the musicians on the continent, and he always contributed at a very high level to the work of the Film Presidium. So I want to express my personal and heartfelt gratitude to Alhaji. I think it's been a wonderful period working with him in the Film Presidium. Now, of course, we need to look to the future, and a film congress is always a very special event. It's one moment where musician unions from all countries over the world gather in one point and try to share the same vision of the future and to put all forces and energies together so as to improve to the largest possible extent the situation of performers, of music performers around the world. So a film congress is really a special event, but this time it was even more special. It was the first time the film congress was held on the African continent.
My name is Kitty Fadluddin, President of the Performing Artists Union of Sierra Leone. Alhaji Buari, you have given a lot of yourself to the FIM African Committee. We really appreciate what you have done for Africa, and we wish you all the very best. Stay close to us and keep in touch and continue to guide us through the coming years. Thank you very much, and may God continue to bless you.
My name is Timak Omachola Isley. I'm the PMAN president, the Nigerian Musician Union. I'm in the lovely city of Joburg at the 19th International Federation of Musician Congress. And I would like to talk about Alhaji Sidiku Buari, who ably represented Africa for the last 4 years in FIM. Alhaji Buari took upon himself with his own resources to travel to all the meetings and congresses to make sure that we Africans were represented. He came to Nigeria a couple of times. He updated the Nigerian Musician Union, who was then not part of FIM yet. We have joined FIM now, and we are very pleased that Alhaji Buari, who wants to step down tomorrow as the Vice President of FIM, that he will continue being an active member of FIM. Alhaji Buari is anytime welcome in Nigeria, so we can tap from his experiences. He will be welcome in the Union of Nigeria as an advisor, because we believe that all the African musician unions must work together for the success of the African music industry. With regards to FAC, We would need your experience, Alhaji Buari. So you have to stay in contact, you have to advise us. Having been the president of the Ghanaian Musician Union for 8 years and for 4 years the vice president of FIM, your experiences and your knowledge is worth gold. On behalf of the musicians of Nigeria, I would like to say to Alhaji Buari, please stay in contact with us. We need you. Your experience is very important to us. You have done a great job for the musician unions of Africa in being the vice president of FIM. We need you around us and we need your advice. So please stay with us. Thank you.
Shekupe from Namibia. I'm the president of the Artists Union of Namibia. I want to use this opportunity just to thank my brother Chief from Ghana, who have been with me since in the 90s when we started to work together on this committee of the African with FIM. He have done a lot of contribution, and I also learned from him, and also I have learned a lot from their country, Ghana. Ghana, we have been with Ghana since before independence. We have been in Ghana. Ghana have supported also our independence. And I was very proud to meet my brother Archie also on this level of fighting for the artists' right in Africa and also internationally. Thank you.
My name is Beat Sanchi. I'm from the Swiss Musicians Union. I've been FIM Vice President for 4 years now and will continue for another 4 years. I'm also the Vice President of the International Federation of Coalitions for Cultural Diversity. I would like to tell you now about my very good friend Alhaji Sidiku Buari, whom I had the great pleasure of working together with for the last 4 years in his capacity as FIM Vice President. I have to tell you that without Alhaji, I would not have been really introduced to Africa, I believe. He really opened the doors to me. He taught me a lot about this wonderful continent. When we were working together, I think FIM would not have gotten anywhere near where we are now without his very valuable and wise contributions on all our meetings. We met many times all over the world. We had a very special pleasure, of course, holding a presidium meeting in Accra, Ghana in March 2007, where also Ghana was celebrating the 50th year of independence. And during that time, Alhaji welcomed us so warmly and wonderfully that it is beyond description. I don't know how many places we saw together with him, how many people we met, how many musicians, how many bands and concerts, comedies at the National Theatre. It was just really unbelievable. And I will very much miss him in our work, and I hope to be able to meet him very soon again and come back to his beautiful country, Ghana. I wish you that you will spend many, many more wonderful years with your wonderful family in your beautiful country, and I'm sure you will still be working for the musicians even now that you have retired as president. I know this is your mission, and I wish you really all the best for that. And as I said already, I hope to see you soon again.
My name is Anders Lausen. I'm president of my union in Denmark, in northern part of Europe, 7,000 members, and I'm here for the Congress in Johannesburg. Well, this message I will pass now is a message to Alhaji, because he's been our vice president in FIM for the last 4 years since our Congress in London. And what message do I send to Alhaji? First and foremost, I thank Alhaji for his work to have the Congress here in Johannesburg. This is always a work, political work, to persuade everybody involved where we should put our Congress. Well, the final result was to put it here in Joburg. I'm very happy I'm here for the first time. But then also, during our work together, we have been going to the home country of Alhaji, Ghana, which I followed already when I was 10 years old, when it was independent from UK. I think it was 1957. I saw the president of Ghana, the first one, in Nkrumah, and I think I was 10 years old. That was amazing, because it was the first time I really felt this thing about African countries being independent from the colonial system, which I really thought was nice. We went to Ghana last year. to have our meeting in the Presidium. Additionally, it was the same time as the Independence Day, the 50 years celebration. It was amazing quality of music. It was such a powerful music of Ghana, Western Africa, but also it was a very kind people that received us there. Of course, under the leadership of Alhaji, who is well known in his country. So I must say it's been a nice thing, Alhaji, to be together with you, to work together and communicate. We communicate in each our way. I wear my clothes and you wear your clothes, Alhaji. And I love that. So thanks for our cooperation, Alhaji.
I'm Tom Lee, President of the American Federation of Musicians of the United States and Canada, and also a member of the Presidium of FIM. And I just want to tell you how deeply I have appreciated my association with Alhaji. He brought to our Presidium an entirely different perspective that was very much welcomed and very much appreciated. One of the great things about being part of FIM is that you discover that you have musicians all over the world, and every one of them, when you get together and you start playing your instruments, we all speak to each other, we all relate, and that's what makes this world so great. And we all know that it's our mission to continue pushing for live music and for music all over the country. Alhaji has brought us here to South Africa, which is just a gorgeous country, a beautiful place to be. And I'm so happy that we were able to have the Congress here. I'm so happy that Alhaji was with us for 4 years. He still has some of his children are in the United States, so he's got to come to New York. And when he comes to New York, I'll have a chance to renew old acquaintances. But to Alhaji, I would just want to say, my friend, it has been very rewarding to be with you, to work with you. I know that you have retired from your current position, but I know that your love for the musicians and your love for your country will continue to drive you to do everything you can to help push music alive around the world and help to promote music in South Africa.
It's been a joy and a pleasure to work over the last 4 years with Alhaji. Alhaji is a very fine musician in his own right, very notable and famous musician in Ghana. I remember when I was there just last year, everybody in every street corner seemed to know Alhaji, and we were even on a boat trip, and he made a speech and actually had to get me to make a speech as well with all the tourists there. So a very famous, very notable musician in Ghana, in Africa, and his contribution to the deliberations of the Presidium have been extremely valuable. We've enjoyed working with you. You've actually represented the African unions extremely well, but you've also given us an insight to help the other unions in other parts of the world. So thank you very much, Alhaji. Enjoy your retirement. We'll see you soon.
By 2006, when he was honored in South Africa for his contribution to the development of African musicians, back at home, Alhaji Sidiku Buari turned attention to a major challenge facing Ghanaian musicians: lack of musical instruments for live performances. He led the union to lobby the government in public forums to sensitize both the government and the general public to the need. The result was the government's lifting of duty on imported musical instruments as a result of that lobby and the resultant law. Many musicians have taken advantage to acquire their own musical instruments. Meanwhile, the number of budding musicians and young talents in need of guidance from experienced hands was increasing. To help them, the Alhaji Sidiku Buari administration mounted musical instruments at the union office and employed the veteran musicians to train the youth on these instruments. This spawned many instrumentalists and other professionals in the music industry. Still at the world level, one of the biggest problems that is facing musicians is piracy, and this has become a worrying canker in which the world is trying to find a solution. At a seminar held in Washington, D.C., Alhaji Sidiku Buari used the platform provided at the international levels to engage in advocacy by the International Federation of Musicians, FIM. For instance, he took the floor, drawing support for the Third World musicians in the protection of their intellectual rights at the Presidium of the International Federation of Musicians. This time in Zurich, Switzerland, Alhaji Sidiku Buari kept up the pressure on the world body. drawing attention to the situation in which the African musician had nothing to take home after sleepless nights composing and recording their works, all because of the activities of pirates. The pirates have for a long time taken advantage of the African musician and rendered them paupers. As a result of these activities of pirates, musicians in Africa, after several years of hard work, ended with nothing of substantial value, whilst some died as paupers. In Ghana, the need to reward hard-working musicians was brought to the fore by the institution of the Ghana Music Awards. There were issues involved as well as challenges and controversies arising therefrom. Firm, however, in its conviction that this was what the musicians needed in Ghana. In the year 2000, when the Music Award was instituted, the Alhaji Sidiku Buari-led union stood firmly behind the organizers and ensured that the Ghana Music Awards came to stay.
Thank you very much, and I'm very grateful for this award, but I would like to dedicate this award to all the musicians in this country. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Alhaji Sidiku Buari.
Copyright owners in Ghana, and are represented in the national discourse and feeling left behind, realized that they needed a dynamic personality who was not only a fighter, but also had clout and commanded respect in society. Alhaji Sidiku Buari's track record of achievement in musica was his CV. As a union's nominee on the Copyright Society of Ghana, Alhaji Sidiku Buari was elected chairman of the COSGA board. COSGA was soon to take the dynamism of the man, and in all the successes Alhaji Sidiku Buari chalked as leader of Ghana's Umbrella Collection Society, Alhaji Sidiku Buari acknowledges the tireless and selfless contributions of a number of key intellectual giants, among them lawyers, university professors, and top public servants, on whose shoulders he stood. They were the ones who, having recognized the genius in Alhaji Sidiku Buari, voted massively for him to head COSGA. Having put Alhaji Sidiku Buari on the throne, these men, too many to name here, put their collective weight behind Alhaji Sidiku Buari, providing guidance through good counsel and constructive criticisms. That is why, for every word of praise for Alhaji Sidiku Buari with respect to his achievements in COSGA, Alhaji Sidiku Buari diverts the praise to these men. The society had, over the years, operated from the government-owned Copyright Conference Room. An abandoned building in front of the Copyright Office had been earmarked for COSGA. By the time he was leaving office, COSGA, which had for years operated out of a dilapidated office, finally had its own permanent offices in a building that was officially commissioned by the former Vice President Alhaji Aliyu Mahama in 2008, thanks to the one man, Sidiku Buari. But perhaps the one achievement of Alhaji Sidiku Buari, which few copyright owners will not forget for a long time, is the advocacy leading to the passage of the new copyright law, which gave teeth to the fight against piracy in the system.
And for all our invited guests, I wish to say we appreciate your presence. Our greatest thanks, which I have reserved for this moment, go to WIPO, CSAC, and guests of WIPO and CSAC in our midst for their tremendous support and contribution to make this meeting a success. The authors in Ghana have already taken advantage of the presence of Mr. Thomas Dayan of FIM, a long-time friend of Ghana's authors, to discuss the possibility of establishing a health insurance scheme for the artists of this country. And we are confident that the administration of our rights, including audiovisual rights and performance rights, will also follow after this meeting. Amen, and God bless you all.
Copyright owners remember that it was during Alhaji Sidiku Buari's 8-year tenure that stakeholders started receiving their royalties twice a year without fail. Indeed, it is on record that for the very first time, regional stakeholders received royalties in their regions without having to travel all the way to Accra for the purpose.
Business, I would like to say at this point, today is my happiest day, and I believe very much now we are going to bring more money to Ghana office, I can assure you. It's going to help all of us to make money for our mother Ghana and for ourselves. Thank you very much.
That is not all. It was also under Alhaji Sidiku Buari's chairmanship that the youth who had never been paid royalties in their life were paid royalty for the very first time. For Alhaji Sidiku Buari, however, if there's a word of commendation for anybody, it should go to the legislators, MPs, and other government functionaries who use their office to back the struggles of copyright owners. One of them comes up for mention, Honorable Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. As Attorney General and a lover of the creative arts, Nana Addo personally presided over many meetings at which key decisions were made regarding the copyright law.
And ensure that the creative industry, especially its musical branch, makes its full contribution to the development of the national economy. On this note, I hereby declare that the gammogram system duly launched and urge all well-meaning practitioners in the industry to patronize the gammogram system to help fight piracy and promote the music industry as a whole. This system has worked before and continues to work in other countries, and I trust that it will work for us if we give it the needed support and cooperation. Mr. Chairman, thank you, and may God bless you.
Of course, a massive vote of thanks goes to Mrs. Betty Mould Idrisi, who, long before she became member of government, had used her position as copyright administrator in the Attorney General's department to move the process forward. It can be said without fear of contradiction that if COSGA was ever born, and if copyright issues ever forcefully attracted government attention, Betty Mould, as civil servant, was a driving force. For a life well lived, a fight well fought, a successful career as sportsman, musician, filmmaker, music administrator at the local and international levels, Alhaji Sidiku Buari has collected 52 awards under his belt. So far, for its credit. The jewel in the crown of all his efforts came in 2007 when Alhaji Sidiku Buari was awarded the Grand Medal by His Excellency John Ajikun Kufuor, then President of Ghana, at the State National Honors.
Mafia mokebe Asko bambanamba Siko ban Ban, ban, siko ban Yabie, walebu